Number 10. Alligator break-in. In Florida, a woman had her insurance claim denied after a massive alligator broke into her kitchen and wreaked havoc. The brazen alligator attack happened early in the morning on May 31st. The alligator, estimated to be about 11 feet long, smashed through the window of a 77-year-old woman's house. Her name is Mary Wischusen, and the alligator broke right through her condo window and scrambled into her kitchen. It broke bottles, it smashed holes in her walls with its giant tail, and caused general devastation. According to what Mary said, the alligator probably went into her house because it saw its face reflected in the glass of her window and got too excited. After all, it was mating season, and the alligator was probably in a hurry to get busy. Sadly for Mary though, her insurance company isn't interested in paying for the damages. Weeks after the incident occurred, they finally sent Mary a letter, refusing to help pay for anything the alligator may have wrecked. According to them, it's all because the insurance policy doesn't cover alligator break-ins. Should you find yourself moving to the Sunshine State, better check your insurance policies for alligator excluding language. Number 9. Python in the wall. A man in Bangkok was watching TV on a Tuesday afternoon. It was a perfectly ordinary day for 45-year-old homeowner Somchai Samdang. At least it was ordinary until he heard a strange thumping sound coming from inside his walls. He put his ear to the wall and nearly soiled himself when he heard something hiss at him from the other side of the plasterboard. Somchai was not messing around with whatever was living inside his wall. This is Thailand, and there are countless snakes and terrifying creatures that could have been holed up in the poor guy's living room. Rather than waiting to be surprised, he reached out to the experts. He called a special team who showed up to his house with hammers and hacked the wall apart. That was when they discovered that an enormous python had invaded Somchai's house and was living just behind his TV. The snake was an absolute monster. It was so big that if Somchai had ignored the thumping and hissing in his walls, it could have dropped down from the ceiling while he was sleeping and strangled him without even trying. Pythons may not be poisonous, but their powerful muscles make up for the lack of venom. Some of them can grow up to 30 feet long and over 200 pounds. But in this case, the 15-foot serpent was put in a bag and transported back to the wild where it belonged, and where it couldn't strangle anybody in their sleep. Yikes! What would you do if you heard hissing in your walls? Call out the experts or try to find out for yourself what it was? Tell me in the comments. Number 8. A hibernating bear. In Colorado, in the small town of Nederland, a bear was caught trying to hibernate underneath a family's home. Michael and Judith Payne had no idea that a rather large bear had been busy making preparations to live beneath their house through the winter months. They only became aware of the bear's presence when a dog caught sight of the animal and started barking. The barking caused the bear to flee into its hiding place, a den it had made for itself, about 5 feet beneath the couple's house. According to the couple, they were already used to bears wandering through their property. This is rural Colorado after all, and bears are in abundance. What they weren't used to was a bear trying to move into their property. This bear had invaded their home and tried to shack up with them. And while you may be thinking, hey, why can't we all just live together? The truth is that if you went to get in your car early in the morning and walked straight into a 9-foot tall housemate with black fur and huge paws, you might be in some serious trouble. The Payne family called the Colorado Parks and Wildlife, and one of their officials, a professional named Sam Peterson, came and removed the bear from the property. Peterson used ammonia to make the bear go away. Bears can't stand the smell of ammonia. It got so grossed out by the smell that it moved out of its den and never went back to the Payne's property. It was sad for the bear though, since it was now left to prepare for the hibernation from scratch somewhere else. Number 7. Toxic cane toads. In a bizarre story that just came out of Taiwan, it seems the country is being invaded by toxic cane toads. According to conservationists, over 200 of these toxic toads have been captured by researchers. Scientists are now in a race to contain the invasion before the highly toxic toads spread through the entire country and cause widespread damage to the ecosystem. You're probably thinking, what's the big deal? It's just a toad, right? The truth is that cane toads are very dangerous. They're native to America, to only 14 countries between Texas and Peru, but these days they can be found in over 40 countries across the globe. Females can lay up to 30,000 eggs at a time and mate continuously through the whole year. Plus, cane toads don't have any natural enemies. When threatened, they release a milky white substance from their skin called bufotoxin, which is lethal to pretty much every land animal on Earth. Nothing eats the cane toad, because if they do, they'll be dead within the hour. Authorities in Taiwan were able to trace the origin of the toad invasion to a small farm. That was when they found over 200 specimens in the area surrounding the farm and the closest town. Specialist Lin Chun-fu from Taiwan's Endemic Species Research Institute says a speedy and huge search operation is critical now to prevent these toads from spreading. But in all honesty, it looks like the train may have already left the station. Number 6. Violent jackals. Scientists have warned British citizens that an invasion of violent jackals could be imminent. Experts are saying that because jackals have been rapidly expanding across Europe in recent years, the beasts could end up in Britain, plaguing the countryside and eating your neighbor's pet poodle. If true, this would be one of the biggest land invasions by an animal in history. And trust me when I say bloodthirsty jackals are the last things you want invading your nation. These howling scavengers are able to travel 9 miles a night and hunt creatures over 5 times their own weight. And while they don't typically attack humans, they definitely could if they wanted. Normally, jackals are aggressive hunters that steal chickens, sheep, goats, and other livestock. But when the livestock isn't available, these cunning dogs can attack animals as big as buffalo. Oh yeah, and I forgot to mention that jackals are riddled with diseases. Jackals often contain multiple species of parasites that can prove fatal or at least harmful to humans. While they haven't invaded Britain just yet, they are getting close. Jackals have been spotted in France, Norway, Poland, Austria, and Germany in recent years, spreading across Europe like a snarling disease. Number 5. Burning down the house. Homeowners in Maryland accidentally burned down their house after it was invaded by a bunch of snakes. The family lived in Dickerson, about an hour from Baltimore. The house was impressive before it went up in flames, 10,000 square feet and filled with decades of memories. But all that was lost when the homeowner tried to clear out a snake infestation using smoke. According to Peter Piringer, the spokesperson for the Montgomery County Fire and Rescue Service, the snakes have been an ongoing issue for quite some time in the house. They had actually invaded long ago and had no intentions of leaving. The people who had lived in the house before had serious issues with snakes, and the new owners were determined to get rid of them. The homeowners used hot coals in the basement to try and smoke the snakes out of the house and back into the wild. But the hot coals ended up setting the entire house on fire, burning the whole thing to the ground. In the end, the damage amounted to about $1 million. That was a major loss for the homeowners who just purchased the place for $1.8 million. The only good news is that at least the snakes are gone. Would you ever go through such dramatic lengths to get rid of a snake infestation? Let me know your thoughts on this bizarre case in the comments, and don't forget to hit subscribe before the end of the video. Number 4. Wall lizards. A few decades ago, the residents of a Vancouver island woke up to the news that they had been invaded by lizards. A species of wall lizards from the Mediterranean had shown up in the capital of Victoria. They then began to spread through the neighborhoods. This was a pretty big shock for Vancouver Island residents who had never seen exotic wall lizards before. These people were used to bears, cougars, and raccoons, not spotty lizards that bite your finger. Today, there are an estimated 500,000 to 700,000 Mediterranean lizards living in British Columbia. And they're spreading, going from Vancouver Island all the way into the mainland. And with climate change heating up the Pacific Northwest, these lizards are proving unstoppable. They live for about 10 years. They eat insects, fruits, and local amphibians. And they like to loiter in people's gardens. They aren't dangerous, but they are invasive. What's really interesting is that the lizard problem has been traced back to a single incident in 1957. There was once a roadside zoo in Victoria called Rudy's Pet Park. They had monkeys and lions, as well as wall lizards imported from Italy. But when the park closed in 1970, lizards were turned loose. 50 years later, there's almost 1 million of them running around. Number 3. Boars in Rome. Speaking of Italy, it seems Rome has been suffering from an invasion of their own. They aren't being sacked by the Goths like they were 2,000 years ago, but rather by a bunch of wild animals. Wild boars have crept into the suburbs of Rome, causing car crashes, attacking people's pets, chasing elderly citizens across the street, and feasting on heaps of trash. In fact, the wild boar invasion has gotten so bad in Rome that a video appeared in May showing a gang of boars intimidating a woman near a supermarket. The woman had just left the market with her groceries when she was surrounded by 6 angry boars. They pestered her until she abandoned her groceries to the ornery beasts and ran away. Of course, farmers in the rural regions outside of Rome have been dealing with the menace of the wild boars for years. But now it seems the problem is moving into the city, and nobody quite knows what to do about it. Number 2. Killer raccoons. In Vancouver, raccoons are a part of life. While they may be adorable when looking at them from a distance, these furry masked bandits can be violent and dangerous. There's no better example of this than the woman whose home was invaded by raccoons in the summer of 2021. Not only did the killer raccoons invade this lady's home, they tried to kill her. Her name is Celeste Morgadinho, and she told local news that the raccoon attack has left her with injuries that she may never get over, as well as psychological damage. She's been unable to sleep ever since the incident, an incident in which she thought she was going to die. It happened just before lunch when she returned home from walking her puppy. Celeste discovered a family of raccoons had besieged her front yard. Her dog started barking, and that was when the raccoons attacked. She was able to escape her own yard and close the gate, but one of the raccoons slid through the fence and kept on assaulting her. It only stopped slashing her with its sharp claws when a neighbor came out of their house and started throwing rocks at it. The damage done by the raccoons was severe. Some of the bites are so deep that the wounds may never heal. Plus, Celeste is so scared to go home now that she's been staying at her son's house. Have you ever heard of raccoons ganging up and attacking a person? Crazy. Number 1. Zombie deer. Near the New York border, experts have found something rather terrifying. It seems there's a small invasion of zombie deer creeping towards New York City. Of course, these deer are not actually zombies. They aren't hungry for brains. Instead, they've been affected by chronic wasting disease, also sometimes called zombie deer disease. It's a transmissible disease that can only affect deer, meaning there's no way for it to pass on to a human. But the infection is still pretty terrible, with no known cure except for death. Zombie deer were first discovered in Pennsylvania in October of 2012. Since then, deer with this disease have been discovered in at least 27 counties in Pennsylvania. This means it's clearly spreading, and it seems to be inching into the forested areas of New York. It's not clear exactly what this means in the larger scope of things. However, if the disease spreads, it could mean the end of deer in North America. Not just deer, but also moose and elk. If chronic wasting disease infects enough animals, there will be no recovery possible. Right now, scientists are working desperately to keep the infected deer in Pennsylvania and out of New York. Some experts believe Pennsylvania is a lost cause, and the only way to keep the disease from spreading through the rest of the country is to put up a fence to keep the infected inside. How would you handle a full-blown zombie animal invasion? Let me know in the comments. And thanks a lot for watching. Remember to subscribe if you haven't yet, and come back again for the craziest videos on the internet.